खोल देना वो लिंक।
कौन से? हाँ। Hello everyone. Let's give some time for all other folks to join. By that time, let's paste that URL into the chat. So in the chat we are pasting one URL. So there you can ask your questions anonymously. So please feel free to keep your questions posting there so that we can drive our communication as per your questions. And like the question that we cannot cover, we will take into the Q&A section of the talk.
Okay, and just to introduce ourselves, my name is Amardeep Singh, and here my friend Gaurav. We are both living in Seattle, USA right now, and we both work at Microsoft as software engineers. I work in the Word team, and he works in the Azure org. And to give like a quick background about from where we are, I'm originally from Navi Mumbai, Maharashtra, and I did my bachelor's from VJTI College in Mumbai, and after that I worked for a year in India, and then came for my master's here at University of Florida in 2016, and I graduated in 2018, and since then I've been working at Microsoft. So it's been like 2 years now, and similarly, Gaurav.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Amardeep. So yeah, as Amardeep said, my name is Gaurav. I work at Microsoft in Azure as a software engineer. I have been with Microsoft for last 2 years. Before that, I completed my master's in electrical and computer engineering. And I did my bachelor's in electrical engineering from Sardar Patel College of Engineering, Mumbai. Uh, so yeah, I'm originally from a small town in North Maharashtra called Dhule. So yeah, I hail from there, and now working here.
As we wait for others to join us, can any of you like just post a comment telling us whether you are able to listen us properly or not?
Yeah.
Like we have no indication of whether we are audible to you guys properly, or are there any technical issues that you might be facing on your end?
Yeah.
So can anyone like just even maybe in a Q&A, the Q&A link, someone can just anonymously post there whether or not you are able to listen us.
Yeah,
And you can also go ahead and introduce yourself, like which colleges are you from, and which year are you from, and what stream are you in right now, like which branch of engineering, and what is your goal like watching this video today, and what all do you want to know from this from us?
Right.
A quick gist of what we are going to do today would be that when we did our masters and we learned so many things, and we were able to join Microsoft, we were able to crack the interviews, we learned a lot of things during our masters that we did not know about like at all when we were in our undergrad. uh, so we really wanted to share our journey with the engineers like you, and just give you a hint of like what does it even take to crack these top companies, or to be like a really good software engineer in itself. Not just like you necessarily don't have to be cracking these companies. You can go and start your own companies as well. But understanding like what software engineering is and what does a good software engineering like looks like, and what do they know, what do they don't know, like things like that. So we really want to share those learnings with you guys today and answer all the different questions that you might have about the different things that we will be talking shortly.
Yeah.
So we
So
will just wait like 4 more minutes and then we would start by like 10:40. And I forgot about it, like, but I would like to wish you guys a very happy Independence Day. And it's 15th
yeah.
August
So
there, like it's gonna be 15th August tomorrow here. But I hope you all are safe and well in your houses. And these are difficult times, challenging times. And hope you are making the best out of the worst happening right now. So yeah.
So by the time, please feel free to add into the chat what do you want from this lecture. What is the, again, don't think this as a lecture. So we want to
Yeah.
keep this as a like a panel discussion in which even you are part of the panel, and we want to keep this conversation going where we like as Amardeep just said, we will be sharing our thoughts, we'll be sharing our opinions or what we learned as a part of our masters here in US, or even what we learn in our day-to-day life when we work at Microsoft. So what really defines good software engineer is, or when people are hired in Microsoft, then how candidates are differentiated, what are the factors those are considered while hiring the candidates, what are the expectations for especially early career employees like yourself. For I think most of you, this could be, I think you would be entering your in the first job of your life. So we would like to touch on those many different topics in this talk. So, if you have any specific things that you would like us to be stressed upon, or you would like us to spend more time on, so please feel free to keep adding your questions. And even having your background, like having us know what background you come from, that will help us to drive our conversation into the more into the manner that is more impactful or that is more useful to all of you. So please feel free, again, if you are, please don't feel shy, or if you are conscious, you don't want your name to show up, then there's a link on the screen. You are able to see one link. Please feel free to, I think that's in the chat as well. So please go there. You can even ask their questions anonymously. Your names won't show up there. We'll get the questions, and then we'll try to answer best of our capacity.
And while we wait, we have a guest with us, Dr. Ravi Prakash. He's from the KC College of Engineering, Thane, and he's the one who is behind organizing this talk today for everyone out there. So, Ravi sir, if you're hearing this and if you want to share any of your views before we start, feel free to do so. Can you hear us, Ravi sir? I'm not sure what's going on there. Okay, so as promised, let's get started with the session right
Yeah,
now. It's
I think,
already
yeah.
9:40 here.
Yeah, I think we gave like enough time for all to show up. So let's get started. So hello everyone. First of all, before we start, wish you all a very happy Independence Day, and I hope all of us are healthy, safe, and following all the guidelines which are given by your local authorities regarding the social distancing and regarding taking care of the this corona pandemic we all are going through. So uh, in this, before we start go into our actual content of the talk, I would like to quickly touch upon two things, like the current situations and the current circumstances we all are in, and then other I want to briefly touch on what is the motivation of this talk, or what is the reason why we are giving this time for this specific talk. So first, let's let's try to understand what's happening around all of us. So now it's like August of 2020, and almost from the start of 2020 we have been living in very unprecedented times. We are literally facing the pandemic in our lives. I don't think any one of us have even thought that we would come across the pandemic in our lifetime, given the such incredible scientific innovations we have done as a human being. And still we are like going through very uncertain times. Like there are a lot of uncertainties, things are changing so rapidly, and these are literally impacting our lives in a lot of different ways, like the way we learn, the way we attend the schools, the way we do a lot of our day-to-day activities. And this has also brought a lot of uncertainty for the people who are going to be graduating maybe this year, or maybe year next year, or in this 1 or 2 years in near future. So so when we were here at home, like all of you, like we are working from home right now from almost like 7 months now. So in this time, we realized, like we in the time that we spend in university here during our masters, and while working at Microsoft, we have learned that we have learned few things that are very helpful for the students like you, which if we could share our thoughts, if we could, there are few things that we can definitely share with you that could make you a better software engineer, or that could help you to definitely land a great, amazing, your dream job at the top companies like Microsoft and all others. So the goal of this talk is we want to interact with you regarding how to build resumes. And like first main idea is how the resume should look like to get to land job into your dream company. And again, it's not about how to write the resume, it will be more about how to build the resume. And then we would like to again touch about the steps that we followed, and then how we want to share our experiences, how we approach the problem, how we approach the interviews, how we approach the resume building itself in our own lives. So those are the things that we want to share with you. So as a part of this talk, we'll be basically talking at the four things at a higher level. So the first will be, so and those are apparently like the sections in your resume. Like in your resume you write about academics, so academics is one of the things that we'll be talking about now. Then next comes the technical skills, then projects, then experiences. So we'll touch on each and everything in detail. I think so. Let's start with academics. So now let's ask Amardeep. Hey Amardeep, what do you think? How academics are important for landing a job in tech company, or especially big tech companies like Microsoft? What are your views on academics?
Thank you, Gaurav, for the quick introduction. And okay, so talking about academics, the way we saw things during our undergrad are very different from what it is out there in the software industry. Like we both come from electrical backgrounds in our undergrad, but the way we when we and even in during our masters, we did masters in ECE, electrical and computer engineering. So we were still not like CS majors as such. We still had a minor in CS. But again, like the way it worked for us, and I think that's a new perspective that we learned, was that the subjects that we learned in computer science we were able to directly map them into the kind of jobs we wanted to do going forward. So an example of that would be, let's say you have a subject on distributed computing or cloud computing or computer networks. So these subjects, they give you an overview of the kind of things that you will be doing during your job. Now I understand, like our academics is a lot of theory, but then if you augment it, if you support it with corresponding projects, like bringing that theory to life, that's exactly what you do when you go into the jobs. uh, so that's one thing that I would really like you guys to take from this is try to map the subjects you learn during your undergrad or like during your computer science or EXTC. Try to map them into actual jobs that the people do out there. And one way to know what kind of things people do out there is to go and explore on LinkedIn. Try to connect with people. That is something that no one told us during our undergrad, like how powerful tool LinkedIn can be. Or even just your seniors, the colleges from your colleges, just go and talk to them. Ask them what kind of jobs do they do. And if you don't find anyone you know who is already working in these big companies, LinkedIn is a really good tool. Or even just try to see GitHub, and you would get a really you know good view of what kind of things people build and how are they related to your academics. So one very basic example is like today we use Amazon.com, right? And everything that you see in that software is built using the theory that we learned during our academics. Now I do understand that we do a lot of theory, but you can augment it with a lot of projects today. And the beauty in computer science is that all you need is a laptop, and you can get started with different things while trying to map these academics to your projects. So we will talk ahead in the project section, in the technical skills sections, like how our academics helped us in building those pillars of the resume. So that's one main thing about academics. And the other big thing would be uh, like Gaurav is really enthusiastic, and he wants to ask me about the CGPA. I guess the
Yeah,
next question will
exactly.
be.
So like when we think about the academics, right, the first thing, so this great, like what just you explained is amazing. I understood, like, yeah, like at the end of the day, what we learn into our college is what we are going to apply into the industry. That makes perfect sense. But I think I still have one question. How does this, how my performance in the college, how my performance in my discourses matters into getting into the big tech company? Or how much importance should I as a student should give to my percentage or CGPA or whatever system I have for how much time I should spend for these things?
So I don't know if you guys have noticed, like today we are moving from like our personal devices entirely onto the internet. And one big thing that has come out of that is earlier people were able to show their talent using grades and CGPA, but nowadays there are a lot of ways you can do that. So CGPA alone is not the only parameter left for the recruiters to look at. They can look at your GitHub projects. They can look at like whatever you have built before you are applying for the jobs, and see your passion for the software engineering industry. So CGPA wise, what we experienced and we saw with our friends, you don't need to have like extraordinary GPAs like 9 out of 10. No, all you need to do is just make sure that you have it like above average. And there is no like a defined percentage that you need to look for, but these companies do have like some sort of cutoffs in their mind. And for example, like if your CGPA is out of 10, I would say anything above 7, 7.5 should make you eligible for any of these big tech companies. And again, like I would like to stress that academics, though, is the first pillar that you should put in your resume. It is not the only one in these times. The other three pillars that we will talk about play a very major role to define you as a software engineer or an engineer overall, like not just computer software, but even like EXTC and electronics, people know like need to make a note of this thing. So yeah, that's how I look at CGPA and the importance of it.
I see. So I think to conclude what you just said, I think even if I'm meeting the eligibility criteria, I am good to apply for the companies, and then I can create impact with other sections into the resume. Is that right?
Yeah, sure. That's like perfectly right what you said. And going on to the next pillar, like switching gears from here, uh, the next three pillars. So the first one we will talk about is technical skills. So Gaurav, can you like tell us about like what do you mean by technical skills, and how do you see them as a student?
Oh yeah, I think after academics, I think the next thing that comes into your resume is the technical skills. So
Mhm.
how I look from the resume's perspective is, I think the technical skill is a section into the resume where I, as a candidate, gets an opportunity to enlist all the skills that I have acquired as a part of my academics, like as a part of curriculum, my extracurricular activities, or the different courses or the projects that I do, I get opportunity or the space in my resume to enlist all the skills that I acquired. And now looking from the other side, like from the industry's perspective, I think technical skills into the resume plays very important role to filter out the resumes, because whenever there is a position into the company, whenever there is a vacancy, so that position is intended to get some work done that requires certain set of skills. So and again, hiring is the process where people, or we look to find the right talent for the specific position, and that talent starts from the skills. Like the first question that gets asked is, do you have the skills required for this position? So I think this is how I look at the technical section of the resume, technical skills section of the resume.
Like very rightly said. And so next two things that I would like to ask you about is the first, like how would you categorize these skills? Because like today there are so many languages out there, so many
Yeah.
frameworks, like it's like an explosion out there, right? And like we always tend to run after, okay, I should also know Python, I should know C++, I should know C#, I should know like all these languages. How do you deal with that as a student? And what kind of skills did you build when you were a student that helped you get into Microsoft?
Yeah, this is a great question. So I think there is no denial, like in computer science industry, this is so rapidly and fastly growing industry, where there is almost a new tool or new framework or even new programming language invented almost like every other day. Every week you will find some new technology making a, like catching headlines of some tech articles or tech journals. So
Yeah.
like a lot of new technologies will come and some might stay, some might go. So I think this is very important for, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed with that. Like every other day when I talk with someone, they will introduce me with some new technology. So it's very difficult to cope up with that. But the good news is, I think at least for getting into the great companies, it doesn't really matter that how many technologies you know. The what matters is how good you know the basic set of skills. So if we talk about categorization, so I think I would like to categorize the technical skills into two ways. Like first is the set of programming languages that you know, because that defines the programming paradigms which you are familiar with, because programming languages are very closely a paradigm with how they are coded, like how they are used, and which means which programming paradigm you are comfortable with, where you are proficient with. So that is one way. And other is the again, you cannot, so again, as said, like in computer science you can do everything in any language.
Yep.
But there are certain frameworks which makes your job easier. Again, for example, if I want to build some website in front end, I don't have to write everything from the scratch in CSS and JavaScript. I could make use of the efforts of people who have put on, for example, in frameworks like say React or Angular,
or even like libraries like Bootstrap,
Bootstrap,
jQuery.
exactly. So that I guess saves a lot of time, and that gives us time to work on the real work, to solve the real problem.
Yeah.
So I think that is the another section where where we can enlist the like frameworks or SDKs. There are a lot of SDKs, like say Android SDK, which are like very much necessary to build Android like apps. So that is another set of the
Platforms.
technical skills.
And like AWS and cloud is like
Right.
really becoming
Huge
these days.
Very, yeah,
And
exactly. Everyone is
trying
using
to,
the
yeah. So
cloud.
they look for like, do you know AWS? Have you looked
Yep,
into
yep.
Google Cloud Platform or Azure?
Or Azure, yeah. And another question, like what skills helped? I think this is very important, like from the student's perspective. So as I said, it's like every other day we are coming up with so many technologies, we cannot really cope up with them, and we don't have to. So how I look at it is what. So as a part of my academics, right? As you said, like academics creates platform for us. Like what are the things exist in the computer science? So I think they also gives us an opportunity to explore them by doing the projects. So I think then I built the most important skill that I earned was the object oriented paradigm. Like through Java and Python coding that I did as a part of my course projects and in my academics. That is, I think, the most important skill I have. And the other skill was, I think, the problem solving skill that was very important into the interviews. And then other skills, like as you said, like Azure, like the cloud computing is one of the skill. So there are a set of the skills that played crucial role into getting job into the Microsoft.
Okay. So like I would try to summarize what Gaurav is saying here is that it's not like you need to know everything. What we are trying to get to is that you need to do some projects, and then you, like, based on what you're trying to build, then decide what technology you should be using, right? Like, for example, if I want to build a web page, I would not build it using Java. I would go for JavaScript and HTML and CSS. And if I like, on the other hand, if I want to write some scripts, I won't go and use like, I will go and use Python, or maybe like C++ or C, a low level language for writing scripts. So every tool has its use. So basically, try to find what projects you want to work on, and they can be related to the subjects you are learning, or you have something in your mind. And we will talk more about it in the into the project section, which is the next section. But that's what the summary over here is, that don't try to overwhelm yourself with learning tens of languages. Try to learn the paradigms behind the languages, like object oriented is one paradigm, and then functional programming is another. So things like that, and then pick up any language that you want to practice those paradigms using. And then so that's how you build the technical section in the resume. So for example, like on my resume, I remember I added, like, I knew Java, I knew Python and JavaScript. So these are the three languages that I was pitching to the recruiters. I was not going in for like 10 languages, like I. And then also it is sometimes good to mention the proficiency that you have in that particular language. So you cannot be a master of everything, and calling yourself a master is a big mistake at this level. So moving on to the next section, which is the projects section. Before we do that, if you guys have any questions that you would like to like us to answer, please feel free to send them using the anonymous link that we are already sharing the screen with you, or feel free to post them as comments as well. Okay, so moving on to the next section about projects. So what kind of projects did you build as a student, and what role did those projects play when you were approaching these big companies?
Yeah, I think again this is amazing question. So we just talked about the academics and then the technical skills. So I think I want to add one thing into the technical skills that leads to the project is, again, as you said, right? Like you mentioned about your skills. So you said about Java, JavaScript, and Python. So you did not write 10 languages there. So the point I'm trying to bring here is, like, you don't have to just write like hundreds of skills in your resume. You have to first build the skills and then write. And please make sure you are writing only the skills which you have, because in interviews, people can usually ask you anything, whatever is there in your resume. And if you don't really know that, that can really take you into really difficult spot into the interview.
Yeah, and you don't want to be in a place where someone is asking you something that they kind of see that you lied on the resume. Okay, so beware of doing that.
Right, and that is a really big no-no for any company, like irrespective. So I think that is a very that was an important point. And moving from that, so now the question is then what skills to write. So again, I would say, this is again my personal perspective. What I think is, every skill that you have in your resume should be backed by one project. So at least this is what I followed. So every skill, so I could point out to the recruiter, if I point out to the project, then I could say these are the skills that I use there. If I point out to the technology or the technical skill, I could say this is the project where I implemented that. So I think this mapping is very important to maintain into the resume. And now moving to the projects, like, so I think there are like two types of the projects that we can do into the academics, like as a student. So one is the like academic project, and other is the working on real life project that I guess real life will cover later on, but the academic project. So again, academic projects could be something that you work, which is learned as a part of your course or curriculum, curricular subject, or I think in like in our India, like in our courses, we have final year projects. So I think those are the like great opportunities for us to build some very serious projects, and maybe get and then write them into a technical skill, and also build those skills as a part of the project. So, and now what I built in my academics was, so in University of Florida, I got opportunity to take two courses which were kind of very project heavy. So the first course was called the Principles of Computer System Design. In that course, I got opportunity to create or write one distributed file system. So that was the one project that I did, and the other was in virtual computers course, I wanted to create one hypervisor, means the software which hosts the operating system. So those were the kind of the academic projects that I did, which I feel that really helped me to write into my resume and catch the eye of the recruiter. So
that sounds really interesting. Okay, and even I was in the same course about the one where we did a
Yeah.
project on the distributed file
File
system, and that was a really interesting project. And to be really frank here, like nothing we built during those courses was something that is like outside display, like outside the earth, or it's not rocket science at all.
Yeah.
Like all the things that we built are out there in the internet. You can always find these things. So what I'm trying to say here is that uh, when we are talking about these projects about distributed file systems or hypervisors, it is not something that only students in US learn about. It's all there, even in like in India, like the colleges and in their academics, there is always references to these things. And you can always use the internet, like leverage it to build your own stuff. And it's not like you have to build things that are novel, like that have never been done
Yeah.
before. As a student, you are mostly trying to understand what is already existing and trying to understand those systems first and then build on top of those systems. So that's how I would say you should approach the projects. And they not necessarily have to be in your academic projects. Okay, and these projects can also be something like just creating a clone for WhatsApp. Like that's a very simple project that any of you can build. Try to understand how to write the front end for that, how would you write the back end for that, and like what kind of services would you need when you have to run a service as heavy as WhatsApp. Like what kind of things would you need to do there? Or even like how does Amazon work? Like building a clone of that website would be a really good exercise for you guys to do, and explore different technical skills that you like technologies while building these projects. And then you can put those like proudly into your resume. And that has like this mapping thing that Gaurav was talking about. Like try to back your skills with your projects.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think just to put everything into the context, so I really like what you just said. Like you don't have to work on the project that is very unique and novel or done for the first time. Everyone doesn't have to create, maybe say for example Windows company, right?
Yeah.
We can even just create the clones, or we can look at the project as an opportunity to build the skills, to explore the technologies, to for example, I just see one question here. They see like how you see blockchain as a technology. Then someone is interested but don't know how to start with it. So I think doing project is best way to do anything. So let's take a look into the GitHub's repository of maybe Bitcoin. They use blockchain. So I think the way to do project is like, if I wanted to do that, I will go there, look into the repository of the any blockchain like Ethereum or Bitcoin, how they have implemented that, and will try to mimic that, like creating the clone. I guess that is the great way to learn. Like we can create a clone of such existing system and explore the technology.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good way to learn.
And just to add to the answer, so we have something called as 1 week at Microsoft, which is where for a week all the employees are given an opportunity to hack on things that they would like to. And last year, I participated in the hackathon on a project that was trying to like make use of blockchain and integrate it with LinkedIn. So what they were trying to do there was, so I don't really understand the technology well, but I understand the concept that we were trying to use there, which is like it's like a ledger book, and everything in the blockchain is kind of
Recording to the ledger.
recorded into the ledger, and there are like approvers to the fact. Like once like minimum number of people approve the fact, it becomes like, or approve a certain thing, it becomes like a fact in that world. And everything is like kind of open to everyone. So what we were trying to do there was like today, let's say you put a skill in your LinkedIn, and let's say I put that I learned so and so thing in so and so college. But then when my recruiter is looking at it, he does not have like a really good way to like know the authenticity of that thing. But there is an entity here, which is the place that you're mentioning that you learned the skill from. That place can come in and like say that, oh yes, I
Endorse.
yeah, endorse you. And that can be done something like using blockchain is what we were trying to do there. Like there would be this system that we can build within LinkedIn using blockchain, where there would be like a consortium of all the users, and where they would basically accredite each other, and that way we can like basically say that, oh, this so and so skill is verified for this person and is verified by this particular institution, who is again like verified with the help of like maybe like kind of reviews or the authenticity of this thing. Like for example, like let's say like 100 people say that, oh, we went to this college, so now we know like there are 100 people who went to this college and are like really good professionals, so that in itself verifies the authenticity for this institution, and then that institution is verifying your skills. So in a way, like the entire system is like kind of authenticated or like verified with the help of this technology. So things like these, like just try to like think about like what can you build using this technology. And I would assume that the people like who have created blockchain would also want you to build projects on top of it. So they would also provide you a lot of guides and example projects to get started with. So they would have like a good SDK out there with a lot of good documentation. So just try to use that. Like today, like a lot of us are like we think the way software engineering works is we would go to Stack Overflow and find all our answers there. That is not necessarily true, and I would want you guys to not do that. That is something that I have done personally earlier in my earlier stages, but then when I got introduced to the like world of documentation and like actually going and understanding how these things work, it really sets you up for a very like a long run win. It gives you a very strong foundation to be able to like work really well and build on top of these technologies, instead of going over to Stack Overflow and just looking up a particular answer and just copy pasting code. So don't be those copy paste software engineers.
So
Okay.
I want to add here one point, like regarding, again, I am not saying specific to the blockchain, but like from this initiative that we are talking with you today. So we started, I think, around 2 months back, and we did a couple of such sessions earlier. And what I learned from this session or the interaction with students is, like, these days there are a lot of buzzwords regarding like blockchain, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and I want to bring here one point that, like, knowing those things is really great, but I want to say, like, considering the stage of the career we'll be in right now, you all will be early careers, like even including ourselves, like we are in our early careers. So those, having those buzzword skills are great, amazing, but we should try to find the balance between the fundamentals. When we are behind learning something very unknown, and we should not spend a lot of time and miss the opportunity to make our technical strong fundamental technical arm. We should not miss that opportunity to keep that weak. Like, it is very important to make your data structures super strong, then your oops concept, like object oriented concepts, like all these fundamentals have to be perfect. Then if you get chance, if you have time, then look for the other things. And also, like, for example, like things like in ML, there are like two ways to look at this. You can directly use certain framework. So I can observe, like, certain people, like they use some frameworks like Keras or something, and in 4 lines they wrote the some solution, and they're like, yeah, I know these things end to end. But it doesn't work that way. You have to understand what exactly that function mean, what means that. So they have function for classifier. You cannot directly use the classifier and say I worked on the classifier. So I think you should look into the details, like what does logistic regression mean, and just try to understand the statistics maths behind that. And this is the way. Like, you don't want to skip the fundamentals just running behind the buzzwords. This is the key that I learned even after coming here in Microsoft. Because fundamentals are very important. They are valued most in any big companies while you are interviewed. No, like in interview, very rarely you will be asked about your blockchain or AI ML projects. They will ask you about your data structures. They will ask you about
like,
fundamentals.
can you write basic loops? Can you
Yeah.
understand what is complexity and things like that? And even today, after working 2 years in Microsoft, like I would say, majority of my time goes to make sure that I'm writing really clean code,
Right.
and I'm reviewing like others' code, because it has to be maintainable. Because when there are like 200 people working on a single project, things can go wrong really fast. Okay, it's no longer like your academic projects where just one or two people. okay, and maintaining the Git projects. Like there is so much code churn happening at a day-to-day basis. So all these basics are what like most of the software engineers would be doing, okay. And like one other thing I can add to the buzzword thing is like even within Microsoft, like we are one of the pioneers in ML and AI, but it's not like every engineer in Microsoft is working on ML or AI. There is like a very strong research community within Microsoft.
Yeah.
Most of them are like PhDs who work in these unknown worlds, kind of, right? So these are not like regular everyday usage things, okay?
Yeah.
So that's how we see these buzzwords and these technologies. But again, we are not discouraging you from
Exactly.
using blockchain.
Learning
It's
that.
really good to try and understand this.
Yeah.
And if you're really interested in it, you would definitely make a great career out of it.
Yeah. So just point is we need to just find that perfect balance where we are 100% confident about our fundamentals first, and then if we have a time, then we should seek for this new buzzword technologies like blockchains, ML, AI. Those are amazing things. Those are the future. There is no second thought about that. But just point is it our current priority? So
Yeah.
we have to set our priority clear. We can definitely explore that, but just we need to mindful of our career stage and our current priorities.
Yep.
So this is how I would conclude this discussion.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we covered the projects part of it. Now
Yeah.
let's go on to the next
Yeah.
pillar, which is experience. Like that is again one thing that you can like that can make your resume really shine.
So Amardeep, actually now this is really interesting. So the crowd we have here, all are like, I think most of them are in undergrad. So they might have been like looking for their first job in life. And how does experience is really relevant? How can college grads can get experience even before graduating?
Hmm. Yeah, that is really a really good question, and something that I used to wonder myself. Like, why? Like, how can someone expect me to have experience while I'm a student? So we would like to talk about the different ways you can gain experience. Uh, so one really obvious way would be to get internships, and because like when you are at a stage or like second year or third year and getting an internship at one of these big companies can really turn things around for you. But then not just these big companies, having internship at any company would help you gain that experience and have like a personal touch of what does the life of a software engineer look like. And so that's like one thing, internships. But if you don't have that opportunity to do an internship, some other ways to gain this experience would be to work with some professors, and if not in your own college, try to seek out professors from IITs. They have a lot of research projects under them. They have like a lot of funding under them, but they don't have like people to work on those projects. Like, and they're mostly looking for students to own these projects and work on them. So try to seek them out and try to like be persistent and ask them if they have some work that you can do for them. Like, it's possible you won't get paid, but that's fine. That like this is not an age to just earn money. You would do that in the future
Later on.
later on in the life. But gaining some crucial experience and working on something that is like being used out in the real world would give you a very uh, like deep experience with what you want to do in the life later on. Because if you think that you want to work for these big companies but you don't have any idea of like what do these people do in these big companies, then it's possible that even if you go into the company, like down the line, say in 6 months, you would be like, oh, this is not where I wanted to be. So
Yeah.
use internships and these research projects to first of all find that is it really something that you want to do, because this is something you will do for the next 15 to 20 years of your life. So the first thing was internship. The second thing would be the research projects. Were you saying something?
Oh yeah. So I was wondering, like, did you get an opportunity to really gain an experience as a student? Like, how
Mhm.
did you do that? Like, I would like
Yeah.
to know more. Like, because like, what are the steps that I could do?
Yeah, sure. So, like I talked about the internship and the research project. So, I was not able to get an internship as a student, neither in India nor in the US.
Mhm.
But like, what one thing that I was able to do in India was like I mentioned, like professors in IITs have a lot of projects under them,
Mhm.
and there was this Eklavya program at IIT Bombay, and they call it an internship. But it was more than that, because we were not only like working for them, but also we were learning a lot while working there. So there is this program. Go check it out. Like, it's called Eklavya at IIT Bombay, and where they take in students from all over India for about 8 weeks, and where they allow you to work on some really cool projects like Scilab and Fossey,
Mhm.
that are like open sourced, and people actually use them out in the real world, and you get a hang of what do these big projects where there are like thousands of files and
Yeah.
like thousands of lakhs of lines of code. What does it even look like? How do you even architect such a system? So that was one thing that was really really helpful to me, because like I mentioned, I did my undergrad in electronics engineering, and that was the first time I got introduced to the world of software, which was after my third year in my undergrad.
I see.
And that really helped me to get the job that I did for 1 year in India. Like I mentioned, I worked for a year in India, and that was mostly in software domain. I worked in a company in Mumbai that works on ATM machines, and that was my entry point into the world of software engineering. But even there, like I was not doing like a really meaning like I was not actually doing something that I expected, and that's what led me to like go ahead and learn more about it, like what software engineering is, because I never really had any formal education in computer science before starting to work there,
Yeah.
right? So like, yeah, that is something that I did. And then other than that, like I was mentioning about research projects, so that is something we both did while we were at our University of Florida. We were able to land a research assistantship with the professor, with one of the professors in University of Florida, where we were able to work on a project. So I was working on a project that the city of Gainesville, where the university was, so that was my client. Basically, they wanted me to build a model using all the data that they have, like the electricity bills and the uh, different business data sets. They wanted us to build like a model for them that could answer some questions around the businesses and help them make policies, like actual policies that help the businesses grow even more, like how to bring in more businesses into the city. So again, like, so things like that. But then again, one more thing that I can say is, even if you don't land an internship or a research project, India has a lot of NGOs and NPOs, non-government organizations or non-profit organizations out there who are like trying to help the society. Go and approach them and ask them if there is something that they would want, and maybe you can build some app for them, or some website for them, or some software system to make their lives easier, or help them transform from books or registers to maybe like online notes, so things like that. So get an internship. And software engineering is not just about writing code. Like, I would say 50% of our time goes into communication.
Yeah. Hmm.
And just knowing how to communicate, how to be a really good team player, and be able to prove your point or put your point forward in a way that like it makes sense to everyone in the room, is a really important skill that you can gain from these internships. It's not just about like sitting down in one place and writing code all the time. No. Software engineering is a lot more than that. So that's how I can say, like, you can gain experiences. Sorry, I think you have been trying to say
No,
something, and
that's
I've been
yeah,
not
that's
giving you a chance. Go ahead.
so actually, I just saw one question like, can a branch of ENTC student crack the software company? So I'll tell you, both of us are not from the computer science background.
Yeah, like
Amar,
even our masters is in electrical and
electrical and
computer
computer
engineering,
engineering.
and we took courses on computer architecture and VLSI.
So
So yeah,
yeah, so the point is, as I think Amardeep already said this, the beauty of computer science industry is, to learn computer science, you don't need any fancy degree. You don't need to be part of the computer science background. You can just have laptop. I hope every one of you has, or most of you have. You just have to go there and start working on projects. So I think the opportunities that Amardeep just said, right? You can just look out for the things, like you can seek out for some non-profit organization, or even there are a lot of small businesses in India.
Yeah.
Like there are small, like that kirana dukans, right? You can go out there, you can create e-commerce website for them, right? These are great opportunities to learn. And especially for the non-computer science background people, this is very crucial, because we do, since again we come from the same background, this is how we developed our skills. Like I will just quickly share my personal experience. So when I was in Sardar Patel in Mumbai, I was doing my electrical engineering, and in my, I guess, second year, I realized I really enjoy softwares. But since in my academics I did not have really courses, and I did not have enough opportunity to explore that, then what I did was, so what even I would suggest you is just look around yourself, just look into your life and see what is the problem that you can solve. And in that process, you will explore the solution as a software system, and you will get opportunity to build certain technical skills that you can demonstrate. So to give my example, so at that time, actually, there was some India versus England Test cricket series going on, and we did not have. Actually, I had the 2G phone where I could just send WhatsApp message, and actually, even the that Yahoo Cricket site was not able to load on that 2G internet, right? So this was the problem I had. Then what I did, I wrote simple server on Raspberry Pi. So it was just the like it was just the messaging server, which was whenever I used to send message to one of my WhatsApp as score, it used to like go through the Yahoo Cricket, parse that, and send back me the score. So this is so simple thing to do, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that helped me to gain confidence. That so because I was skeptical. So I'll tell you, for the people who are not from computer science background, especially, which I personally really had difficult time dealing with, was the confidence. I think when someone is asking regarding confidence, like how do you have confidence? So this was, I think, working on the projects, making something happen is the key to build the confidence. That will give you confidence that you can do something, you can create difference, you can make difference, you can make something that you imagine happen into the world with your ability. And again, when we were talking about the technical skills, I want to again say about one skill that is most important, that is not written anywhere, but that skill is called ability to learn new things. It is the skill that you won't write in your resume, but that is the skill that you have to learn, you have to develop. Because when we were even talking about the rapid evolution of new frameworks and technologies, so for example, today I work on a specific technology as a part of my work, but tomorrow, say my team decides to move away from that technology, and maybe get like some new upcoming technology integrate into our thing, and I get some task from that new thing. If I know how to learn quickly, then that will drastically reduce my learning time. That would reduce my time to create impact in my day-to-day work. So I think this and other thing I want to say is the version control. So this is the skill that is not usually taught into the schools, but schools as in colleges in India or even here. This is not something that is taught into the school, but this is used almost everywhere, used in all the companies, used in all open source projects. The version control, especially Git. So Git is something that if you don't know, I would highly encourage. Today is 15th August, so you have holiday, I think. So take this time, in spirit of India, learn GitHub. This is the great skill to have.
Yeah.
If you don't have your account there, go ahead and create your account in GitHub.
It's
Explore and
free.
learn from others code. Learning from others code is,
So
again, as
yeah, it's a
Amardeep said,
very
right?
big
Yeah,
skill. And like when we work at, so I work on Word, Microsoft Word, and that product has been there for 30 years now. Just imagine the number of lines of code that will be there in that project. And I am, as a new engineer, have to start contributing to it and make sure that I don't break the system altogether.
exactly.
So, and like even today, if I'm like given like a scratch pad and told to just go and develop the entire Word app, I don't think I can do it end to end, right? There are so many moving components, and I'm still learning about these, like about the system, right? So it's a really important skill to learn from others' codes.
Yeah.
And again, like others' codes might not be the perfect code that you would like to be. So refactoring again comes into picture there. So there are so many skills that you would not learn in your academic, like during your undergrad, but
Yeah.
and there are like these skills will come into picture only once you start working as a software engineer. But it's fine, you will learn them as you go. But then the thing that Gaurav talked about, like learning how to learn new things, that is the really like most important skill. Like, and I had like one of the meetings like last week with my manager's manager, and I was asking him about the same things, like what did he do to become, like get to that level, like over, like he has been at Microsoft for 20 25 years now. So like what all did he learn to get that at that level, like because I'm just a kind of newbie. So he again mentioned to me that a lot of things have changed in the past 25 years, but the thing that has remained constant for him is to learn how to learn new
Yeah.
things. Okay.
Exactly.
So
So
we
this is the
cannot,
universal
yeah,
skill,
it is a universal skill. Once you know that, you can do anything, not just
irrespective
in
of,
software
yeah,
engineering, but anything that you want to
exactly.
do. Okay. So for example, like we are learning now how to go on YouTube live and speak to
Even this is new
some people,
learning for
and when
us.
there is no one in
Yeah.
front of us, right? We are just talking to a camera, and it is so funny, to be really frank, just looking at the lens of the
We are
camera.
laughing at the lens,
And,
so it's
yeah,
very difficult.
and just making sure that we are not sounding idiots, because we don't know like when are you hearing us, what is the amount of lag, and things like that.
Yeah.
So so that's the four main pillars. And to complete the question about the confidence for the interview, I read that you said that even though you knew all the answers, you were not able to answer the questions with clarity. So over here, I think this is something that I have done. I have clearly done. I still remember the first interview that I gave when I was trying to land an internship, and the question was so simple. I feel like I was stupid dumb, like when I think about it today. And I think the only thing, the difference between that interview and the interview that I gave for Microsoft was practice. Like that's what it came down to. I don't think like I had practiced enough when I was giving the first interview versus when I was giving the interview for Microsoft. Like there are like four interviews, 1 hour each, back to back. So like for 4 hours you are being drilled, and there are like 50 people in the lobby who are for the same job, and you don't even know how many people they're going to recruit, and how many of them will be like just said no. So there is so much pressure out there, right? But then again, like I think practice was the key. You need to really practice, and uh, we spent like, I would say, minimum. So I really spent like 2 months every day, 5 hours, 6 hours. Okay, because that's what we it took. And so it was between like my first year and second year of masters. We had that summer vacation, right? And we were like among a very few people who did not land an internship, and that really like gave us a lot of pressure, and we were
Yeah.
not able to like get a whole night of sleep, like just thinking about like what will happen with our career. Okay. So I really took those 2 months seriously, and I practiced every day, every single day, and that was the motivation like to get in to do something, right? Because once you are coming like you're like once you have something to achieve, that itself becomes the motivation for you. So and that helped me to like make sure that I'm practicing regularly. And uh, like Gaurav's case was like he had to practice a lot more than
Yeah.
I did, because of the circumstances and like things that are out of our control, right? So I was able to land an interview with Microsoft like just after the colleges started in August, while like it took about a year for Gaurav to be able to land that job, that dream job interview.
Yeah.
So there will be like a lot of different experiences that people will share with you, but one thing is constant here, which is practice. Okay. And that's how you will make sure that you don't fumble or you don't take meaningless pauses, and you will enjoy. Believe me, like the interview that I gave for Microsoft, I still remember like about 90% of it. Like that was 2 years ago, and or actually 3 years ago. And I was literally enjoying answering those questions, solving the problems with the interviewers, and I think the interviewers themselves, were also enjoying taking my interview. And the only difference I would say is practice. Like and we were really lucky that our roommates during like when we were studying in University of Florida, they were from computer science background, and they were like one of the main reasons we got introduced into like we came to know how to prepare for these interviews. Before that, we had no idea. Like until the end of my first semester, I had no idea how to even where to start, what to learn. And because that was something that we thought was a very big distant dream, like getting into Microsoft was something that I never even aimed for until the end of my first year, to be really frank here. And we always thought like these are the big companies for like someone who comes out of IITs or NITs, like these big colleges. And we, like being from EXTC, we don't really have any shot at getting into Microsoft or Google or Facebook. But that's not at all true. Okay. And it's again like the practice was the key there, like building projects, building a really good resume, and practicing algorithm skill, like algorithms and data structures, and how to give interviews, like asking your friends to take mock interviews for you and things like that. Like they really help.
I think most of our people, they might not have they might not have like that many experiences. So how about this? Let's start one thing, right? On this YouTube channel, let's weekly take interviews of each other and create content for our friends, so that they will see how we approach the question in interview. So that I think questions like this could be answered. So what do you guys think about this? So please write into the comments. So the idea is we'll try to post, I think, video a week where we'll take interviews of each other. So that will give you, I think, that will give you idea of how interviews work and how to maybe avoid those pauses or the fumbles into the interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
will I think we can like properly demonstrate like how to leverage the interviewer, how to leverage their points, how to
Yeah.
propose our point, how to make sure the question is understood properly.
Yep.
I think I see the opportunity there. So we would like to get your feedback, we would like to get your input. So do you see value in this effort?
Yeah.
So please let us know. If we get good enough responses, then we will definitely consider doing this. And
Yeah.
so because the aim of all this is to making sure that we are helping you some or other way. So if I guess if that is the something that you are struggling with, I guess that was the reason why we asked for the RSVP forms, that we
Yeah.
wanted to know what is the place where you need help, or you need help where
Yep.
we can add value to your journey in achieving your dreams.
Yeah,
So I
definitely,
think
definitely. And like looking at, there are only I think 7 people right now watching this video. So I would like to treat this as a one-on-one Q&A thing. Okay.
yeah,
So please
please
feel free
feel
to
free to
ask
ask
whatever questions you
questions.
have. So I see a next question, which is like, is it possible to get an internship from Microsoft, for Microsoft or other great companies if you're from an average undergrad college? How can we prepare for that? So we are trying to answer that question for you. So first, for the first question, can you get into Microsoft an internship from an average so there is no such thing as an average undergrad college once you are on this side of the line. Okay. To be really frank, my college, my undergrad college, my degree really doesn't matter
Doesn't
once
matter.
I've like gotten into Microsoft, right? But before that, like I understand that there is always this fear or this,
Inferiority complex.
yeah, inferiority complex, that we don't come from the same big colleges, big league colleges. But it is totally possible, believe me, it is totally possible to, and we have a lot of friends with us in Microsoft, okay, who come from what we would call as an average undergrad college in India. But it really doesn't make a difference now. Okay, so yes, you can definitely do that. And how to prepare for that, we already talked about the 4 main pillars of the resume, right? I hope you understand something out of that, or you got something out of it. But if you feel that it was really abstract and you would want like need you want more information about a particular pillar out of it, like academics or technical skills, projects or experiences, so these are the 4 main things that you will ever write into a resume. Okay, and I can show you like I will show you like later on like what one of the things that I built when I was trying to land an interview with Microsoft, and like how to make myself visible. So even if you're from an average undergrad college, like see, you can always get onto LinkedIn and contact these recruiters. But before you do that, before you have that confidence, you need to build a really strong resume. Okay, and that's what we were talking about, the 4 main pillars: the academics, the technical skills, projects and work experience. So start there, like try to build some really good projects, some really cool projects that can make you shine. And then once you get started with that and are comfortable with that, uh, hop on to understanding data structures and algorithms, doing like something called as uh, what is it called, the coding.
What? Competitive?
Yeah, competitive coding, it is called as competitive coding. So it is nothing but solving problems based on algorithms and data structures. Okay, uh, start understanding what are algorithms and data structures. And if you don't know where to get started on that, one thing that I got started with was there is a book called Introduction to Algorithms. It's a really good book. Okay, if you look up, it is you can also search for something called as CLRS.
Yeah,
And just
let me pull
yeah,
it.
just put it into the
Yeah.
chat. Or,
Yeah.
okay, so Introduction to Algorithms. It's a beautiful book and it's a wonderful book. Now don't go by its size. It's a really thick book, and you don't have to know all the pages in that book, but it is a really good book for you to get started to understand the theory and then getting into the problem solving skills. And then use a platform like LeetCode or Spoj, SPOJ, or
even
Geeks for Geeks.
Geeks.
Yeah, Geeks for Geeks is an excellent resource.
HackerRank.
HackerRank. Go on to these platforms and try to solve easy questions. It's possible that you won't be able to solve them in the first try or the second try, but you would eventually be able to start solving it. And remember, it's all about perseverance and persistence. Okay, if on the first day you're not able to solve the problems, you will feel frustrated and you will feel like it's not something that I can do. But over time, as you like, you might go and look at the answer. Okay, You- we are all tempted to do that, so you would do that, and you would go and look at the answer, and then you would realize, oh, it was really easy. So, like, but over time, as you start solving these problems, you'll get a hang of like how to approach them, like, so, and how to utilize the things that you're learning from the algorithms and data structures perspective, like sorting or binary search or using a hash map, like a dictionary or a hash set. Like, how do these things make your work easy, and how do they improve the complexity or uh, the time it takes for the the computer to run the code. So things like that. So you start from with basic problems like arrays or strings and things like that, and then build on to like bigger things like greedy and dynamic programming and those kind of things. But even in the interviews, I would say like most of the interviews are really simple questions. They just try to test your problem solving skills. They're not testing your academic knowledge here. Okay, they don't want to test you on like big the red black trees or like the big concepts. You will face like really simple questions in the interviews. It's just about how you're trying to solve them. Like, are you trying to first of all create clarity? Like, for example, if the question is simply sort an array of numbers, if you just go and start solving it and like applying merge sort and quick sort and things like that, it might be like you're not even trying to understand what the complete picture here is. It might turn out that the array's length will always be of size 10,
Maybe two,
or
like
even two,
or
yeah,
one.
not just one.
You don't need
So
even
just
sorting that.
asking those sort of questions, they make you stand out. Okay, like trying to have the complete picture there, like what is even expected from the problem. Okay, like what kind of array are we trying to even sort here? Okay, is it like an array that you're trying to sort? For example, let's just take a real world example. Okay, uh, YouTube Music or Spotify or any app, it sorts your videos based on
Yeah.
something, right? And you have that filter in front of you. You can sort them by date, by time. And if it's like a very small array, why would I go and use merge sort? I can just quickly go do bubble sort. Okay, because it's a constant length array, it would be like same complexity. So things like these, like just knowing the basics, real basics, and trying to clarify the problem before you start jumping into like solving it with really complex things. So that's what is the interview all about.
And
It's
even-
about so I will just complete it with it's always about like continuous conversation. It is
Yeah.
not about just solving it in your head. Just
Right.
just speaking out loudly. That's how you crack these interviews, letting the interviewer know what is going on in your mind. And it is possible that you would not get the final solution, which is totally fine. I remember like in one of my interviews, I was not able to write like the complete code, but I was able to convey the logic that I was proposing to the interviewer, and they were satisfied with it. Okay, so that's how it has to be. And they just want to test you, like what your thoughts are, how you
Yeah.
think about it, what is your like conviction and things like that. So it is totally possible to get an internship or a job at Microsoft from an average integrated college. And the way you get started is the way we are like one way you get started is the way we are telling you about today.
And in most of the cases, right, in interviews, they don't want to see your answers only. They want to. So see, let's think this way. So in interviews, what happens is they are hiring a person. They are not hiring for just a specific problem to solve. You are not going to solve the same problem in your job.
Yeah.
So, but what happens is they want to see how do you communicate during the interview? How do you interact with the interviewer? Because in interviews, mostly interviews usually give some kind of hints, or they sometimes they hide some information. then the questions that Amardeep just explained, I think the question you asked, so this is, I think the question you ask is something that really differentiates you among the pool. So in most of the interviews, like in my team, right, when we hire, what they do is they usually ask same question to all the pool. So what happens is, again, so for example, the simple question like say the sorting question, if I ask to the 50 people, everyone solves with the merge sort, then I have no way how would I differentiate the skill of everyone. But if someone come up with and ask me questions like what just Amardeep said, right? Like what is the size of your array? And if its size, even say one array can be one length, single length array, then I don't need to apply any algorithm. So this is where this witty answers, such witty questions, this is what differentiates you. This is what proves that you have capability, you have ability to think out of the box. Because in your day-to-day job, you have to trade off between the complexity of the system and uh, and uh, and maybe the efficiency of the system. So for to have to make some certain thing very maybe optimized, you don't have to make it overkill, you don't have to make it overly complicated so that it might end up being very difficult to maintain maybe in future.
Yeah.
So these are the things that we care when we work on the real life projects. So I think this is how you should look at the interviews, and this is how you should learn from others, learn from, I think, the interview experiences, learn from others experiences, what happened in their interviews, how would you tackle that. So yeah, like create your brand yourself in this way.
Yep. And so yeah, like that's all we
That's
would
pretty
say.
much
We
it,
can
yeah.
we can tell you about like what the process is like, and uh like uh and like we were saying, there are two things that happen during the interview, which is like their logical skills, like how you solve the problem, and also your communication skills, how you are telling it to the interviewer, like what are you trying to do. So both the things are really important. And then, like, to be really confident, you should definitely practice writing code a lot. Like whiteboard rounds are really important these days. Writing code on the, so it should be on your fingertips, writing code, so that you don't waste time writing loops, like figuring out how to write a loop or how to instantiate something. Okay, so just pick up any language, and it's never going to be like language specific interviews in most of the cases for these big companies. Okay, and just make sure that you have like a really good grasp of writing code, the syntax for that particular language that you are choosing, and are able to fluently write the code without any obvious mistakes. Okay, like for example, you are trying to use a variable but you have not initialized it somewhere, so that is like a red flag for the interviewer. So things like these,
Yeah,
like how
like
to write even like
clean
clean
code.
code
Yeah.
is really important.
Yeah.
And since it's like during the COVID times, most of the interviews, or actually every interview, would be remote only. And
Yeah.
going forward, that is something that the companies might even do more.
Consider. Yeah.
And that is really a good advantage for everyone. They no longer have to just go into some IITs and hire people. They can hire people anywhere, and you can always go and apply on their websites. Okay, like these companies have their career web pages. Go and apply there, and just look at the timelines. Okay, so for example, when most of the hirings happen during very early during the starting of the fourth years. Okay, don't wait until the end of your fourth year and then apply for these jobs. You need to start applying in the very beginning of the fourth year, and that's when these job openings come. And so that means you need to be really prepared before the fourth year even starts. So that's how you get an opportunity. And the other thing that we want to emphasize here today is, if you're not on LinkedIn, make sure you create a profile on LinkedIn. And I guess you have our LinkedIn profile links. You can look at what kind of profiles we have, and use that tool to reach out these recruiters. Like everything today is happening on the web, and the recruiters are really active on the LinkedIn platform, and they look for opportunities to endorse good students. Believe me, like if you build something and put it out there, and you have some recruiter connections, they would like maybe like it, and then maybe even consider you for the profile, for the jobs when you reach out to them. So building a kind of brand of yourself is really important these days. And so these tools like GitHub, LinkedIn, are really important. Like I can show you an example of what I built when I was a student. So this is like uh, so like we have resumes, right? So I wanted to build like an online portfolio for myself, and in the like I was really into like learning about front end technologies, and one way to do like learn them was building something that is useful to me. So if you see the link, it is hosted on GitHub, right? And so the things that I would mention on my resume, I mentioned them here, but I get a lot more space. Instead of just like one page, A4 page, I can like type as much or as much I want. Okay. And this is like hosted on GitHub. It's completely free. It has been like that for 2 years now. I haven't modified this in 2 years, but it's still out there. And I would send out a link to this to the recruiters when I would try to get an interview. So just explaining about myself, what skills. So like remember I told you like we should not be running after a lot of languages. That is something that I learned over time. But when I had started, uh, I myself like put a ton of languages on the page. But now I realize it's not really necessary. But if you see in terms of the languages, like I mentioned before, I have like Java, Python, and JavaScript, which are the languages, and these are like the frameworks or the libraries that I like.
See, you don't need like hundreds of languages or hundreds of skills.
Yeah,
You should just, so this is what, like, you just have to prove whatever you know that thoroughly. So I think again there is one question saying like the domain of the project, does the domain on the project you work on matters? So it doesn't really matter till you know what you worked on, what
yeah.
technologies you used, what maybe if interviews goes into very detail, then what are what the reason why you took certain technological decisions. That's what that matters, and not really the domain. So feel free to just do projects in any domain of your choice, but do something that is
But
important.
one thing I would really want to emphasize here is don't do projects for the sake of technologies.
Yeah,
Try to build something uh, meaningful or something cool out of it. Like for
that
example, uh, like I built this online portfolio, right? And in the process, I learned about a new library called Bulma. So like there is Bootstrap, there is something called as Bulma. There is a framework called Bulma that you can use. Like again, it's a CSS based platform, and I really wanted to try it out. And this is one way I tried it out, like all these animations and things like that. And then like I mentioned, I really like front end, so I created certain projects, okay, and these are still there. Like if I open these, you would see like they're still like functional, and it's again like hosted and can be accessed by anyone from anywhere. And this is something I built. Like I really wanted to understand how the dragging thing works, and like how React works. So I used React and certain front end technologies to build like a very basic note taking app. And then a very fun like basic fun game, or I wanted to understand how you build like a responsive like grid. So I like built this very basic page of just 9 images, and then I can go and resize this and see like the images are resizing, and like so such things. These are really basics, okay, and the recruiters don't expect a hell lot more from you. So things like these, they just like help you understand the technologies well. And then like putting down what all did I work on. So like we built certain things related to Linux. We worked on OpenCV as part of our curriculum. And so again, like one thing that I forgot to mention was hackathons. They are also a really fun way and a cool way to get something built up in just over a weekend. So out of the 8 projects, like two of the projects that I have added here are from my hackathon. So we worked over a weekend. 4 of us built something really cool, and like the code is there in the on the GitHub, so that anyone can go and just look at the code. So things like these, and these are like very basic examples. Like so socio travel, like one so what this project was about was, uh, let's say I'm traveling to some place, to a new place for some business work, but then I have like a weekend over there and I don't really know what to do. So maybe I can do something good over there. Maybe there is some NGO that I can, like a local NGO for whom I can work for a day or two. So I was trying, like we built a platform where all the NGOs can just like post what all
yeah.
activities or
Opportunities.
opportunities or sessions or things like that people can attend. And we were trying to connect that with your Facebook, so that using the interests that you have posted on your Facebook, like I like, so for example, so and so cuisine, or so and so football team, so and so movies, based on that it would build like a social uh, portfolio for you, and then based on that would show you the top
Relevant
NGO and
things.
the relevant sessions or activities you could do for social good in that new place. So very basic idea, and just building out like a web platform for that. And like there are Facebook APIs out there that you can use, so things like that. Then the other one was Smart Stadium. So this was just so we had gotten our hands on something called as a beacon, which is like these Bluetooth devices that can run for like 2 to 3 years without any charge or anything, and you can program them to emit a message like all the time, like all the time. So it's like a beacon. It keeps emitting a message. For example, one message would be so what we were trying to do there was manage the entry and exit from the stadium, and also like managing like advertisements that the local vendors can push onto your phones. For example, there is a stall that is selling popcorns. It can push a notification on your phone telling you the way to the stall, and so that way you don't have to just go, like you will know everything on your phone itself, like what all food is there in the stadium, or where are the restrooms. And like even during exit, if like people are all exiting from a particular exit, it can tell you that maybe there is a lot of rush on this end of the stadium, you should go to this end of the stadium. So things like that can be achieved using these beacons, which are like really low cost devices and can run for years without charging them. So yeah, like these are the kind of projects. It's not at all rocket science, but they really allow you to use the different technologies that you want to use and learn a lot of new things. And so yeah, that's what I built as a when I was just getting started with front end engineering and things based on that. And so yeah, these are the kind of things that you build for yourself, right? Uh, like another examples I can share with you is while I was working in India, like I mentioned, I was not really working like developing a lot of software, but I really wanted to do it. So as a side project, what I would do was I created a password managing app for myself, which I would just run on my own phone. Okay, it was not connected to the internet, nothing, but I was able to store all my passwords in one place. So I built an app for that to like learn Android, which was really useful to me to understand how Android works. And like another project that I built was like a very basic paint app for myself, or a note taking app. So things like that, just build something that even if you don't like publish, but just use it for yourself, it will be useful to you. So
I think,
do
yeah,
we have
yeah,
okay?
I shared that.
Okay, so one more thing that before we go, like it's about time, and we can leave now.
Yeah,
We were thinking about one thing to do next from here is we understand that when we are sharing and talking like over a camera, over YouTube live, there is only like so much that we can do during these sessions. So we were thinking like to take this to like a next level where we can provide one-on-one mentorship to the students directly, get in touch with the students directly. So if you guys are interested in you know connecting with us further, and like we were thinking of having like a 10-week mentorship program
yeah.
where we would guide you through actually building a resume and actually getting started with competitive coding, and learn like understanding how LinkedIn works and how to like approach the recruiters and things like that. So if you guys are interested in that, we will share like our email address with you.
I have already shared.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's our email address. You can send us your resumes, and if we feel like you have the capability and like you are motivated and are enthusiastic about this, so you can share your resume. Or if you feel that your resume is not good, but you are really inspired or enthusiastic or passionate about it, write down why we should be mentoring you guys, and like how will it help you and what do you want to achieve. Just write that down and send us over an email. And you know don't don't feel discouraged or anything, right? Even if you don't have a really great resume, like once we get in touch, we can share our like first resumes with you, and you would literally laugh over on that resume.
Yeah, we
Like
can laugh together.
yeah, and we can laugh together on that. So feel free, you can send us emails,
Yeah.
and then we can see like where things go from there. And if it's all good, we are thinking to like have like a 10 week or a 12 weeks up to 3 months of mentorship program, where we would
We would help
meet
you.
you
Yeah.
on weekends, like 1 hour or 2 hours every weekend, and help you get started into the different pillars that we are talking about right here. Like you might be like eager or more curious now about certain things that you want to do. So yeah, I think
I
that's
think we
it.
are already running out
Yeah.
of time.
So thank you for
Thank you
everyone
for
who was
joining.
on the
Yeah.
call or who is listening to us
Yeah.
right now. Right now it's like around 11 p.m. here, and
Yeah.
we would like to end it there.
Yep.
But I would just reiterate. Uh, you can note down the email address, and also use the feedback form to just let us know how we did, how we could have done better, or something that you were expecting we did not do, or something we did really good.
And if you think your friends are missing, feel free to give out this URL so that even they can take advantage of the content.
Yeah. And remember, these things are really done in groups. Okay. I never practiced problem solving by my own. Like I used to always have like 2 or 3 friends with me, where we would brainstorm the solutions, because that way you also get to know someone else's perspective, like how are they looking into problems, right? So and that really helps you out. Okay, like one analogy I can give you is, let's say you join a gym. Okay, and you're a friend, like this is something that I'm telling you from my own personal life. Like during my last semester at University of Florida, I started going for these sessions like in the gym at 5:30 in the morning. And so we were like a group of 3. And there were days when I would say like I don't want to get up so early and go, but then the other two would be like, no, 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 let's go. And there would be certain days where one of the others or two of the others would be like, no, 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 I don't want to go, but I would be like, no, 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 we should go. So similarly, it's like you can definitely use that thing here as well. If you are practicing on your own and you don't find a solution, you might be like, okay, I'm done with this and I will stop doing it. But if you're doing it in a group, and someone else has this click, they get the answer, you can know like what did they think, what, like how did they reach the result or the outcome. So form a group, like a group of 4 or 5, and like start learning these things, and try to build on top of each other. Like let's not pull each other down, let's build on top of each other's shoulders. So yeah, with that note, thank you for everyone.
Yes.
Thank you everyone, and I would
Thank
like
you
to
for
thank.
joining.
Yeah, I would
Thank
like to
you,
thank
Ravi
Ravi
sir.
sir to just organize this. Okay,
And yeah,
cool.
hope this helps.
Yeah, hope this was helpful to you guys. Cool.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Have
Take
a good
care.
one.
Yeah, enjoy the weekend and stay safe. Stay at home.